My name is Maya Caldwell. I am 20 years old and I grew up in the small town of Lakeview, Texas, where everyone knows each other and the biggest excitement is the county fair. So when I got accepted to a university far away and started dating a charming young man from South America named Diego, I felt like my whole world had finally opened up. Diego was handsome. He spoke with a smooth accent. His family owned a chain of restaurants, and his brother Carlos was always laughing and inviting me to parties. And I loved the way he made me feel special. But the first problem appeared when the spring break season rolled around and Diego and his brother announced that they were going to South Padre Island with a group of friends for a wild weekend. They told me that the bus tickets were sold out and that a few of their fraternity brothers were driving a big pickup truck down to the island. And my roommate Jenna, who lived in the same dorm, asked me if I would like to join them because she could not go. And I said yes because I wanted to see Diego in a new setting, and because I thought it would be a fun adventure. I arrived at the parking lot early. The truck was a massive 12-foot vehicle with a faded paint job and a loud engine. The driver was a tall guy named Marco who called himself Drugs because he always smelled of weed and never seemed to want to drive. The other three men were friendly. They laughed and offered me a soda. I helped pull the luggage into the back and even took a turn at the wheel when the road got bumpy. I felt a little nervous but also excited. We sang along to the radio and the sun was shining. And when we finally reached the island, I saw Diego waiting for me with a big smile and a bouquet of cheap plastic flowers. I thought the night would be perfect. I paid Marco $100 for gas, said goodbye to the other guys, and walked toward Diego. But later that night, as we were getting ready to go out to a club, I opened my suitcase and realized that the $300 in cash I had brought for the trip was gone. The money was missing. I felt my stomach drop and my eyes filled with tears. I knew that the only person who could have taken it was Marco because the other three men had been kind and had even helped me with my bags. I told Diego what had happened and he tried to comfort me. He said he would pay my share and that we would not let the thieves get away with it. But his brother Carlos and the other friends were angry because they thought I was accusing them of stealing. The next week we were at a noisy bar on the island and I saw the same truck pull up. The driver Marco was sitting in the back with his head down. I felt my heart pound and I wanted to run. Diego whispered to me to stay calm and asked which truck was theirs. I pointed to the faded vehicle. He said he would take care of it and walked outside with his brother. I waited a few minutes hoping they would not see me. Then Diego and Carlos came back, grabbed my hand and we left the bar together. We danced and laughed and tried to forget the loss. After the week ended, Diego told me that he was not going to ride the bus back and that he had bought 2 tickets to fly home from Brownsville. While we waited at the airport, he leaned close and whispered that Marco, the guy they called Drugs, was going to be in big trouble. I asked what he meant, and he said that he and his brother had put sand in the gas tank of the truck, that the sand would clog the fuel lines and cause the engine to die shortly after they left. I felt a mixture of relief and guilt because I had not done anything myself, but I knew that the sand would be a perfect revenge for the money they stole from me. We boarded the plane and left the island. And a few days later, I called Jenna to ask if she had seen Marco again. She said she thought she saw the truck on the highway, but was not sure. Then she told me that the truck had broken down an hour after they left South Padre Island, that the engine sputtered and stopped, that the driver and his friends had to wait for 2 days while a tow truck came, that a mechanic had to drain the fuel lines, replace a pump, and even replace the whole engine, that Marco's father was furious and forced his son to drive the broken truck home and took away his driving privileges. I felt a wave of satisfaction as I imagined Marco sitting in the hot seat of a broken vehicle while his friends laughed nervously. The revenge felt sweet because it was not violent, but it taught them a lesson about stealing from a young woman who trusted them. I thought about how the experience changed me. I realized that I could stand up for myself even when I felt scared. I learned that sometimes the best way to get back at someone is to use cleverness instead of anger. And I also learned that Diego cared enough to protect me even if it meant putting a little sand in a fuel tank. After all of that, I returned to Lakeview, Texas, and I kept the memory of that spring break as a story I could tell my friends. I still have the scar of losing my cash, but I also have the pride of seeing justice happen. The last twist came when I received a text from Marco months later. He apologized for what he had done. He said he had lost his job and his father had cut him off, and he asked if I could help him find a part-time job. I felt a pang of compassion. I decided to forgive him, but also to remind him that actions have consequences. And that is how my revenge story ended. Not with hatred, but with a lesson that stayed with both of us. And now whenever I walk past the old gas station in Lakeview, I smile, because I know that even a small grain of sand can change the course of a life.